say, your metamour and yourself are planning a party for
your hinge,
and you can kind of work something together to see what, hey, I got this idea for a party. I got this idea, let's treat them this way. Whenever you and your metamour come together, y'all can do so many things to help out your partner if you love and care.
Compersion.
It's a big word.
And you can do all kinds of things, like big things like expediting date night. Don't worry about the car. I've got the car. I'll take care of it. You two go on your date. Borrow my car. Take the motorcycle. It's
all about what level of respect you give to your metamour. You got to realize that your partner that you love, that you cherish, that picked you and you picked them, now has picked another partner. They picked them, they picked you, and so you kind of need to be respectful in the fact that they picked them. I've seen many different polycules where they don't talk to their metamour and they prefer not to.
Some people don't, and I look at that as kind of a lost opportunity. This person is somebody that's kind of irreplaceable. They know things that you also have to deal with or go through. They're in this together with you, so they're on. This is a person who's kind of a ready-made ally, a ready-made friend. Or it doesn't have to be, but it's just one of those things where there's potential that you have somebody that you can talk to who really gets it.
Right, and so if you and your partner have an issue and that your metamour has been with them longer than you have, you can say, hey, look, they're going through this. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Can you, if you've seen this before, any advice? And it helps. It comes through as a benefit of having a metamour and talking to your metamour.
Yeah, and anybody with experience with someone you're trying to be partners with, they can give you ways to be better for them in the same way. Like if they're having an issue, there's something special you can do for that person that will normally cheer them up. Well, it would be nice if the partner also knew that.
And there's other benefits to having the metamour in your life and on deep conversational terms with them. And that's, if you're coming into an established relationship, they really can help you engaging a situation. Hey, I'd like to do this. Well, Paula really doesn't like that. And now you know this. And it's something that you would have learned later on, but hey, neat, I know this already. And I can...
Gives you an advantage.
Absolutely. Everybody around the room is laughing, your partner is laughing, and suddenly you look over at your metamour and they're looking at your partner and they look concerned. Now you know something's up. That's not their normal laugh, that's a fake laugh. And you wouldn't have known that. You would have thought everything was fine, except now you have this extra help. And it works in other ways of, oh, you know what you need to do on your date? You need to take her here. Oh, like he always has this knot on his back. If you work on that, you're going to relax him in a...
It's not a knot, it's a hunch.
You're going to find a lot of times people in poly relationships, they pick partners who are either different, and the differences can be fun. The differences can be cool. You got somebody who's very soft-spoken, and they go out and they find another partner who becomes your metamour who is very outgoing and very flamboyant, and they light up your life. Or in the case where they find partners that are somewhat similar because they have a type, you're going to find that you share a lot of traits with this metamour, that you have a lot of common interests.
One metamour had that I actually started dating. It was kind of funny because I have a type, and it tends to be a pale redhead. So it just so happened that Jay's partner was a pale redhead, and who was also a gamer, which check box and check and check and check, and which it was cool because when her partner would come over, if Jay was tied up doing something else, we would sit there, we would talk back and forth or whatever, or we'd play a game, and while Jay was busy, and then whenever Jay was not busy, they had time together and go do whatever they wanted to do, start a date or whatever. But it was cool that it worked out. And again, that having a metamour does not mean you can fuck your metamour, okay? It does not give you an open access to that partner.
No.
Yeah, you need to communicate about that.
And when chemistry is there, it's going to be readily apparent eventually anyway.
It doesn't mean you have to completely bar it from being an option, but unless that's how the boundaries that you set. But, if you leave yourself kind of in an open state, like, okay, well, if this happens, and it's a natural, organic, chemistry-laden connection, then I guess we can consider it. But we're not going to force it, and we're not going to make this an issue.
It's funny. I know, I'm not sure if, I guess all partners do this. It's like they'll talk. It's like, oh, you remember seeing such and such at the party? What do you think of them? And kind of just have a discussion about it. Well, it's kind of similar when you're talking about a metamour. Kind of like Crow said, is, you've been talked about before it became a thing. And
oh, yeah. We talked a lot about Crow and X before we actually sat down with them, and we're like, hey,
yeah,
if you're interested, we're interested.
Are you interested? I don't know. Are you interested? Are you? And yeah, so kind of worked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay open and communicate and do all of the good things that come with that, you can find yourself in the very enviable position of picking your metamours, because you can advocate for them. You're like, hey, what about this person for you?
This person seems nice, but again, it's not up to you to pick it. It's also not for you to interfere with.
You shouldn't push them either.
No. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And even
so, you don't want to be blindfolded and introduced to your partner.
Not on the first date.
Is this like a temporary thing, or is this shutting up?
But again, it's not up to you to pick, not for you to interfere. But it's so difficult to not interfere sometimes, but you just gotta do it.
Yeah, if you're polyamorous, it's really up to you. Your part is to accept.
Mm-hmm.
Is to accept your partner's partner.
Right.
Is to accept that they exist, accept that it's okay, accept and advocate for your partner and even for your metamour if you see that the relationship is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you kind of have to stay in this open state, semi-alert state. Just be a person.
Wait,
you treat all the people in your life like they are important to you.
Well, and thereby association, the people who are important to your partner should be important to you.
Right.
And you should treat them with kindness and respect because your partner values them.
Yep. You don't sit there and badmouth your metamour. Don't badmouth your partner to your metamour. That's a recipe for disaster.
No.
It's unhealthy. It's disrespectful.
Yeah, and it's one thing that I find funny, when talking to somebody, it's like, do you not think that we talk to each other? I mean, especially if they're polyamorous. Like, do you not know that they talk to each other? If you give one story to your metamour and then another story to your partner, at some point you need to realize that they're going to talk. And so if the stories are different,
maybe they might not.
True.
Which is why we advocate in this circle, in this particular polycule, we advocate for communication.
And transparency.
Mm-hmm. When the younglings come to us with a partner, it seemed almost a laughable thing at this point that we've noticed that the partners have a tendency to, I don't know if they just automatically do, they seem to test us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Like just test our communication skills.
They'll contact each one of us separately with the same issue but twisted in a different way.
Some of that might be the normal processing a human goes through when they've thought about it this way, and now I'm talking to somebody else and I'm rethinking the situation and now I'm expressing it different. But it just seems so strangely surreal. We'll sit there and be talking to someone and we're next to each other on the couch.
I was like, are you fucking serious? This person just said this. And like, that's not what they told me. That's not what they told me.
We'll show each other the messages and be sitting there like, I can't believe this shit. What are they? Who are they trying to kid?
It's like they're lying to one of us. Which one they're lying to?
All of us. At that point,
we're just some weird social experiment that they decided to conduct.
I don't know if there's some kind of gleeful scientific urge there that they're trying to see.
Right, and if you have people that communicate, then you can play them against each other. Like, hey, you know what? Hey, you know what? Tell them this and see how they respond.
Or just don't.
Right.
I don't want the drama from that.
I
tend to
not do that. It's like, no, I'm not
call their
responding to
BS and be done with it.
Right.
That's what I do. I don't play.
No,
I ain't got time for that. So meeting your metamour might be a little bit nerve-wracking,
especially if you're a shy person already.
Yeah.
Or if you have social anxieties,
or your self-confidence is not where it should be. Like in my case.
Depending on who you are, you could do it in lots of different ways. There could be a party where your partner and metamour have a party that they're throwing for whatever, and you come there. Or you can meet in person out in public if you would rather do that. Have something where you could run away from if you needed to.
Coffee, dinner,
just over
something
coffee.
like
Coffee is actually a really good way just for a first date, for a first,
fairly inexpensive, and you can bail if you have to.
Yep. Not that I'm ever recommending that. I'm just saying.
Unless you need to, bail.
It gives more of an open air feeling to where you don't feel so trapped. So if you go, it's not all of their things all over the walls. It's not all of their memories and maybe all of their kids, and you're not behind their house door. Now you're obligated to stay there for however long until it doesn't feel awkward to leave.
Yeah,
if you want to leave.
They keep telling you to put the lotion in a basket or something.
Different movie.
If you're new to polyamory, it can be intimidating going into someone's house and seeing an established family. And everybody's comfortable seeing you doesn't necessarily make it easier for you to accept the situation. In fact, it can feel very surreal.
Well, right. And then a lot of people, if they know you're new, they're going to single you out. Oh, I heard you're new, this and this and this. And so you're even more of a spectacle. And if you're like me, you have stage fright. It's just, I can't even think about. That's why I prefer meeting in a coffee shop.
It's like, oh, look, my new precious toy right here.
So you're already nervous going in, but I would recommend just meeting somewhere kind of open air. And if you decide that you're hitting it off and things are great and everybody's open to it, then decide to go somewhere after, have a lot of fun, do different things. I don't know, go back to their house and talk about stuff. But
get out the rope.
Anyway, it's one of those things where that's a good introduction to your metamorph. See, I would definitely like to know whoever Jay goes out with is going to treat her right and be good for her. I mean, again, it's not my place to say one way or another, but I want to know that she's safe. I want to know that she's being taken care of, because someone would take care of her to the level I would want her to be taken care of. Like, I don't want her to come back crying, because that's gonna suck for everybody involved.
That's a bad sign. That's a bad sign.
And you may want to go prepared with questions.
Mm-hmm.
What are rules? What are things that I need to know about this relationship? Because just like they're going to have questions and concerns about you, you need to have questions and concerns about them too. How long have you been together? What is a deal breaker? What are things that you will absolutely not accept, or things that you would love to see, or anything like that? There's lots of different questions you can ask. And how can I help foster a better relationship between the two of you?
Communication.
Yeah, and just ask the questions and be very open and honest, and then just be truthful when questions are asked of you. Mm-hmm. Because if you start a relationship off with a lie, or saying things that you think people want to hear, A, it may not be what they want to hear.
Right.
And B, it's not true, and it'll come out in the wash, and then it'll suck.
Never, ever, ever start off with a mask. You just can't. You have to be radically transparent for a successful poly relationship. I truly believe that. Because if you're not, first of all, you're right. You're absolutely right. It will come out. Mm-hmm. Because there's no way you can hide this with that many partners in your life.
No, the closer you get and the more, and especially if you're metamour and your partner communicate, then they're going to say, oh, this and this happened and whatever, and your metamour may look at them like,
You see, and the thing is this may surprise everybody, but people talk.
Weird.
I know. Mm-hmm. So,
especially in a poly relationship where they're used to forcing that communication to
a poly relationship and a poly community. Because one thing we found funny with the poly meetups that we go to is that somebody had messaged 6 women in the poly group.
Oh yeah, unsolicited dick pics for all of the women. And I was talking about it with somebody. I was like, oh yeah, like this, and I showed them the picture, and they're like, oh my god, I got the same one. And then a few other women chimed in, I got the same one too. Yeah, so that person is just registered as a big, humongous douchebag.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and it's super easy in a community like this to get a reputation, either good or bad. False fronting or being a giant douche nozzle, it's going to come out, and it's going to come to the front. I've heard people walk away from relationships saying, polyamory doesn't work. See how terribly that went. And that person really needed to ask themselves why, in their case, it didn't work. Yeah.
And did it not work for everyone involved, or did it just not work for you?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. Examine your behavior. Make sure that you're being honest, which requires a big level, not just communication, but introspection.
Yeah.
You gotta, because you can hide things from yourself.